Hello and welcome to today's edition of Extraordinary Outcomes. I'm Shubhanjan Sarkar, your host and founder of Pitchling, the buyer-seller engagement platform. Data privacy was built into Pitchling from ground up. Much to the discomfort of our peers in the buyer-seller tech companies, we identified this as a key problem and baked it right inside the product. No consent, no visibility of engagement data. Recently, Google announced a sea change in their tracking cookie policy. This is what David Temkin, Google's director of product management for ads, privacy, and trust, wrote in their blog. We don't believe these solutions, those that will continue to track users, will meet rising consumer expectations for privacy, nor will they stand up to rapidly evolving regulatory restrictions and therefore aren't a sustainable long-term investment. Don't fall for vanity metrics. Time to win yourself away from ill-gotten data. Build trust with your customer. The first step is to respect her data privacy. Want to know more? Sign up for a free one-on-one session, link in the attachments. We continue to bring you the complete interviews that we recorded and aired earlier in the year with experts on the 5% conversion problem in B2B sales. Today, we speak with George Bronten, a lifelong entrepreneur with 20 years of experience in the software space and a passion for sales and marketing. With the life motto, don't settle for mainstream, George is always looking for new ways to achieve improved business results using innovative software, skills, and processes. He shares his thoughts on the award-winning blog, Art and Science of Complex Sales. Since 2012, George and his team at membrane.com have collaborated with thought leaders and studied research to identify the success factors behind successful sales organizations. The result of their hard work is a software as a service that makes it easier for companies to capture, learn, and execute the behaviors needed to achieve sales excellence. George, welcome to the show. I'm delighted to have you here. I really hope that you will bring in a different perspective to what we are discussing here. But before we get to the topic, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for having me on your show. And I'm the founder and CEO right now of membrane.com, which I founded, it's actually like 9 years ago now. Time flies, especially in these pandemic times. And before that, I ran and started a company called Upstream. And I think that name resonates very much with me because I like to challenge the mainstream, which is why the first company was called Upstream. And now the new company is called Membrane. But basically what I do is I try to build technology, find or build technology to improve efficiency and effectiveness for companies, specifically B2B.
So essentially, there is this elephant in the room in B2B sales, which somehow we are not talking or not talking enough about, which is this abysmal lead to conversion rate that we are living with. So, George.
Yeah, and when you say we, just to clarify, who's we in this context? Leadership or entrepreneurs, founders, VC companies? Who's we?
And interesting. I think everybody is equally guilty. Tell me who is not.
Yeah, because I think in our little world of sales development and sales experts, I'm sure it's been talked about a lot. But I fully agree with you that from a sort of outside perspective, on a leadership and a board level, it's kind of weirdly accepted that sales is as inefficient and ineffective that it is. I agree. And sales and marketing, maybe you should say, because they go together.
Absolutely. So what got us here?
Yeah, this is a great question, and given it a lot of thought. And I think one big reason is that we as human beings make a lot of assumptions. We assume things to make our lives easier. We draw conclusions that might not always be correct based on information that might be false. And in selling, I think if you don't know selling, if you don't really understand what selling is about, it's easy to believe or draw the conclusion and make the assumption that salespeople are somehow born, right? They're people that were born with a certain trait. We think of them as, super extroverted, very social, go-getters that won't take no for an answer. And that's just a very sad or an old school thinking when it comes to selling. But if you have that assumption that that's how it is, well, you won't be spending any time and effort and money on developing salespeople. You just think they're out there and you need to recruit the ones, the superheroes, and they'll make it happen. But in real life, that's not how it is. It's a profession, and you need to get skilled. You need to get good at it. You need to get trained. You need to get coached, just like every other profession. It's just that it hasn't been seen as a profession, I would say, as a serious profession. And we're starting to get there, I hope. But yeah, that would be my sort of main. I wrote a book about this. Stop Killing Deals. It's really digging into these assumptions that we're making, that we just need to let them go and realize that selling is helping someone to make a decision to improve their lives, their businesses. And you need to be there to create value in that process. And that's really selling, helping someone improve, not like the false sort of perception a lot of people have about sellers is that they are someone who tricks you into buying something you don't need for their own benefit, so they can make a commission or they can make a buck, and that they're all money hungry and they don't really care about you as a customer. They just care about their own wallet. And with all these perceptions and assumptions, we're just messing things up, I think.
The assumptions are there because of a reason. And there is some responsibility which lies with the sales leadership, which sort of perpetuates this kind of assumptions and pictures. Because if you're going to run an organization purely based on quarterly quotas, which sort of drive the activities, then these assumptions will stick.
Yes, of course. I mean, the problems lie at many levels, and they trickle down. Like if it's not unusual that we work with technology companies, which are often driven by technology leaders who might have this perception of selling as being something bad or something immoral or something. Yeah, it needs to happen, but I don't really like it. But they have these bad thoughts about it. And then, of course, that may lead to them making decisions on who they hire that might not be good, etc. And also, when we talk about sales leadership, and you've been around, you know this as well. I mean, sometimes we make the mistake, or the leaders of the company make the mistake of making their best salesperson into their sales manager or their sales leader. And that might be great if that person has the mentality and the mindset to become a great manager. But oftentimes it can be a real disservice to your company, because you're taking your best producer, and if he or she does not have the mindset to be a good coach and help others succeed, but is really driven to perform themselves, that will end up becoming a poor manager or leader, and you just lost your best performer. And then that sort of trickles down. Or you get managers, you promote people into leaders, and then you don't help them and guide them and assist them in getting the resources they need to become a really good leader. And if you don't know how to coach, for instance, and you believe that coaching is helping someone do something, like stepping in and doing it for them, well, then you're in a very bad situation, because now you're not leading, but you're micromanaging. And you're trying to be the hero, although you're really messing things up because you're not building your people, and they become reliant on you as doing the work for them instead of helping them grow and do the work better themselves. So I think this problem, yes, it lies at sales leadership, but sometimes that leadership might be in a leadership position because management did not hire or promote the right people.
do you think that we really have the amount of talent that we need to run these millions of businesses? Right?
Great question. I think we have the talent inside of people, but we're not good enough at bringing those resources out of them. Because of course, I mean, at least in the past, and this is also getting better, there haven't been any real training programs or academic programs to become a professional salesperson. So you have to sort of buy training programs from sales training companies, or you have an in-house sales training that is good, or you're unlucky and you get into a company that has no onboarding and no training and just hopes that you know it, as I mentioned earlier with the assumptions that you were born to do it. But yeah, I think there's so much that has to be done about improving the skill sets of salespeople and managers. And I would like to stress again the importance of managers, because if you have a really solid, good manager with a coaching mindset that is comfortable in your sort of growth curve or where you are in the maturity of the company, he or she will bring out the best of people. And that's magic when it happens. But yeah, we have far too few really skilled salespeople that you can just pluck and put into your company and say, wow, you're going to be ramped up in 2 weeks. I mean, we're not there.
Couldn't agree more. You touched upon another issue at the beginning, which is the disconnect between marketing and sales. And it will lead to some sub questions around the kind of leads that we're generating and so on. So we'll get there. But first, let's start with the core. How disconnected is this disconnection?
How disconnected is the disconnect? Well, that's a great question, and of course it comes down to each company and even industry. I think
Sure.
We're both in the software space, in the tech space, and I think again comes back to maturity of companies. But in the complex B2B sale, where I'm sort of focused, I think the disconnect is still that we are pretty compartmentals. Like marketing is doing their thing to generate leads, and then sales do their thing, and then customer success do their thing. I think we have to look at it more from the buyer's perspective. Like if I'm a buyer and I make contact, what's my experience like? And because I hate as a buyer all these handovers. Like first I have to talk to one person who seems very junior and pretty knows nothing about my business, just wants to get the meeting, and then I'm handed over to someone more senior, and then a bit more senior, and then I get to another person, another department. Those handovers create a lot of friction. I perceive.
Yeah.
And I think marketing can and should work more cross-departmental to make sure that the journey, this sounds very, I really don't like the word buyer journey, because it sounds like it's sort of a set path.
Yeah.
But experience is probably a better word. Like, how is my experience from the first contact with the company to becoming a customer and hopefully becoming an ambassador for the company and the product? And your voice, the company voice, is it the same from the beginning, or is the customer success using a whole other type of language than the marketing did? So having this as a coherent theme throughout the entire experience, that's where I think we need to spend more time, and there's often a disconnect because of it. We look at just, okay, now we generate leads for you, then you book the meetings, and we're specializing more and more, right? So you even have SDRs, the only task they have is to book the meetings, and that's when they hand it over. So, and I don't know, and I think it can work, but we need to also look at it from the more and more from the other perspective, like being the buyer. How would I perceive this experience? Because I know I really hate when you treat it as an object, or you're treated like something they can extract money from, And the VC companies, they suck at this, I must say. I'm sure you're being contacted by a lot of VC companies, and they have these junior people that reach out and they want to book a meeting with you and basically go through a questionnaire, same questionnaire for everyone. Like, what do you do? What do you da? It's basically a qualification form. And you sit there on the other end, it's like, why the heck am I, why am I on this call? You could have sent me a form, goddammit. And then, so you get a really bad first impression, I think, from a company like that. And they all run the same playbook. So I know hundreds of these VC reach out, and they all play the same place. And how smart would the VC be to take another approach? Just do it a bit differently and think about that person on the other end. How will he or she perceive this reach out and this contact? So it's becoming. You can hear my emotions coming out here. I'm almost really, and I'm really annoyed with this mechanical approach to customers. And I think customers are getting a bit upset with all these, the automation tools salespeople are using, is spamming people.
Yeah,
it's not good. It's not good. It's again. I feel we were moving in the right direction for a while. We were talking about being more consultative, but the whole automation stuff that has been happening lately, I think it's again putting sales in a bad place where we get a bad reputation for just being egoistic.
So George, what do you think is the solution? How do we fix this? I mean, we can talk about a bit, if you want, about the leads that is getting generated, the quality of the leads and the process that goes into defining leads, the agreement between sales and marketing, and what marketing is giving out. Marketing qualified, sales qualified. I mean, we can keep adding layers of qualification, but the result is not changing much. So, we could talk about that.
I think, when it comes to leads, and I think when we talk about these things online and on LinkedIn, social media, and podcasts, etc., there's a lot of focus on, at least what I'm listening to. So it could be a bias on my end, but the tech space is sort of driving a lot of the new tools and technology and behaviors and systems and methodologies and all this. And I think people can get a bit lost when listening to that, because if you are a startup, Silicon Valley startup, you got $100 million in the bank, you're recruiting like crazy, you're spending money like crazy on marketing and everything, you're trying anything you can. That's a very different situation than a mid-market manufacturing company that's been around for 50 years.
Yes.
You can't just take the Silicon Valley playbook and apply it on that company and believe that's the way to do it. You always have to understand, what's my situation? Where's my company right now? Where do we want to go? Who's our target audience? How do we segment them? And I think in marketing, a lot of times we do a shotgun approach. So we market to everyone, and then we sort of look at the leads to qualify them, instead of saying, okay, which would be the 100 accounts that would make a huge difference for my company. If we get 50 of these 100 accounts, we'll just be in a great place. And you do targeted marketing, and we talk about like account-based marketing, account-based selling, and all that stuff. I think that's a different approach, which requires, of course, different marketing, different outreaches, different dialogues. But longer term.
Yes.
I think also in marketing, we are often looking for the quick fix. Like, if we send out this email to hundreds of thousands of people, we get these many leads, and we look at the conversion rates, etc. And that's fine. We should do campaigns and there's brand awareness and all that. But we need to be, I think most B2B companies need to be a bit more specific in who to go after, and do a really solid job in segmenting their market, defining their ideal customer fit, understanding their stakeholders, all the problems, aligning with that, etc. So, which is nothing new, right? This has been around for forever, but it's hard to do it because it requires discipline and long-term thinking, which is hard and frustrating compared to just throwing money at a problem and getting a quick sort of result. And you can't throw money at a problem if you have 100 million in the bank and the investors actually expect you to spend a lot of money. But again, if you're a mid-market, privately owned company, that's going to be a different situation. So I think we need to not seek sort of the easy fix and try to just copy someone else's methodology off the bat because they've made a fantastic result out of it. But really focus on where are we, where do we want to go, who's our customer, what can we help them with, how's that different from the competitor, what's our differentiator in the market, how do we communicate that, how do we look at this from a buyer's perspective to be sort of consistent throughout the entire journey. A bit of a rant here, and these are, I mean, again, you read any book and they will say what I just said. So I think the magic here is execution. Like always, you have to execute in a mindful, structured, disciplined manner with the customer at the center.
And with a long-term view, which we don't have.
And with a long-term view. And the long-term view, I think, what messed that up is the entire quarterly based society we live in. We have, it's structured in a way that we have to get the quick wins. Yeah. And the salespeople have to say, oh, if you buy today, I'm going to give you the discount, but not tomorrow. It's like, okay, so you just told the person that in a quarter's time, you can get an even better deal. So it's just, we have to stop being so short. Yeah, have such a short time frame in front of our eyes all the time. But it's hard. I get that also, because you need to show the results to the investors and the owners if you're in that hamster wheel, so to speak.
What do you think is the solution to have better?
I think you said earlier, the elephant in the room, and I asked who is thinking like that, and I believe that leaders of companies need to see that elephant in the room. Like, okay, we're looking at sales, and it's almost like a black box for many boards. Like, we see here's sales, but we look at the forecast, and it was way off last quarter. It's going to be way off now. But why? Why is it? Fire the sales leader. You have to look at it in a new way. Like, this sales is a profession. Sales needs to be done in a professional way. And it needs to be aligned with the strategy of the company, and we need to invest in our sales leaders and our frontline sales managers and our salespeople, and marketing and customer success, and it all needs to stick together. So, having this holistic perspective is really key, and making sure that we give the sales leaders what they need. I think that's the next problem, because sometimes they just get a number. Like, okay, this is the number. Make the number. Okay, but then I need, training. I need tools. I need this. Well, maybe if you reach a number, they don't always get the resources. Yeah. So you have to actually provide them and look at sales as the profession it needs to be, and help elevate it there. Not to look at it, and I'm not saying everyone does this, but not to look at it just as a bunch of people that were born to sell stuff and should just do what they're told because they're getting a high commission. It's just not enough, right? There needs to be much more structure.
Yeah, and that's another point for another discussion, which is the whole comp process, this whole motivation that you can get 50% of your income through commission. Could have been okay for the industrial era. Oh, we built, 100,000 brushes, which we now need to go out and sell. And if you can manage to sell it to a Walmart, I will give you this commission. That's fine, because I'm sitting with inventory and so on. How relevant it is today, I think it's seriously debatable. And whether only the salespeople need commission, or they should be incentivized, and not the product guy, not the guy who is creating the material, not the person who is thinking it up. I think it's a whole Pandora's box, if I may say, which we possibly should open on another day.
Yeah, no, it's a big topic. but it affects a lot of these. I mean, it creates a lot of problems. But it's almost like you say, it's a can of worms, because if and it's affected by everyone else. Like if you want to hire a salesperson and he or she can get 50% commission at your competitor, and you're not offering the 50% commission, well, which job will they pick?
Absolutely.
So it's also a matter of competition. If everyone could say, let's stop this madness from one day to another and change how this works, because studies have shown that after a certain point of income, additional income doesn't do so much for your motivation. I'm not saying that you don't want to earn more money, but there might be other ways than having it as an individual commission, because as you mentioned, there are other people involved, like the marketing people and the customer success team, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's a different topic, but and also within sales you have, I mean, we're seeing a lot more specialization, so that it might be that some of those tasks is suitable to be on a commission, whereas others are not. Yeah, but I find it to be a very difficult balancing act, because you are competing with other companies who might be doing it wrong. So if you start doing it right, okay, will it be perceived as right, or will it just be perceived as crazy?
Well, no, totally. It's again, it boils down to leadership, vision, your ability to sell the vision, your long-term view. Can you, for example, step up the base pay beyond what the competition is assuring, and say, but that's all you're going to get, and then end of the year we're going to give bonus to everybody based on what we do. So if you're
I've seen leaders do it. I've seen people be bold and doing it in industries where you might not think it would be even possible. But where I've seen it has been in industries where margins have really dropped. So there has been sort of a necessity to make a shift in some way. And some leaders have then done exactly that, raised the base, so you get a higher comfort level, higher security. And then have more of a bonus on the team. And I must say that I like that approach in many ways. But then there are timing issues and et cetera, that might make it difficult. But I agree with you. I think from a motivational perspective, we believe that money has a bigger impact on motivation on people than it has, and it's also a generational thing. And now we're seeing that younger people are less extrinsically and money motivated than other generations. So we also have to be fluent about that, I think.
True, absolutely. What, according to you, are the things that tech companies, SaaS companies, you can take any slice of it that you're comfortable with, and say, what are the things that they can do which will move the needle from a single digit to at least a double digit conversion?
I talk a lot about just making sure you're doing the basics, the fundamentals of selling right. You need to understand who your customer is. You need to understand how you create value for them. You need to understand who you need to talk to, like the stakeholders. I think, and I've been repeating this so many times, but sellers often repeat the mistake of just talking to one stakeholder and believing and hoping and praying that this person is going to sell you your solution internally to the team. Just as such a crazy mistake that's just being repeated over and over and over and over and over again. And this is where I mean that structure needs to be in place to make sure that we are always targeting the right customer. We know the value. We talk to the right people about the right things at the right time. We follow up when we say we should follow up. It's not that complex, actually, but it's hard to do it consistently, structured, and all the time. Just like training. I mean, we work out. We know we should work out, but we'd rather lie on the sofa and have Coke and chips, right? So. Right. we have to then have we're back to the motivation, and then you have the coach needs to understand what drives this individual salesperson, what makes them get out of bed in the morning, where are they going as a person, where do they want to be, like let's tap into their on a human level. We're too mechanized, we're too almost looking at people as robots. And I think I was talking down on automation, but I think automation is fantastic if we use it the right way.
Of course.
But we can't use it just to replace human connections, because that's not going to work. We have to make use of technology and automation in a smart way, but then just empower people, help people grow, help them become better at their jobs, help more clients, help them change their attitudes towards sales. It's not a bad thing. Sales is not something you do to someone. It's something you help someone achieve. It's something beautiful. So just that mindset shift, I think, is important.
Absolutely.
And maybe a last thing to throw in there to get to a double digit is be more proactive in which customers you want to get. Because if you're looking at it from a sort of a macro level, yes, 5% from what? Where did we count the 5%? Was it the number of marketed qualified leads, or was it the number of opportunities we actually put in the pipeline? There's a lot of, I don't know, confusion about the KPIs. What KPI means what? Everyone is measuring differently. But I think from your perspective, it was more from a lead to a win, right? Yeah. And yes, I think we are shotgunning a lot, so there's a lot of crap in that initial lead bucket.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way we treat and talk about it like a funnel, I think that also is a problem, because the funnel by definition visually talks about lots of things at the top and very few trickling down at the bottom. And that sort of justifies that idea, but I think lot of the ideas and concepts and frameworks that we're using are just plain outdated. I think we need to we need to take a break.
Yeah,
from
and
those.
I think the funnel to me is more of a marketing concept. Like the marketing department, put stuff in a funnel, and then it trickles down and we see very little come out. Whereas a sales, I mean, I usually talk more of a pipeline is actually not that bad, but maybe more, it's hard because every time if I lose a pipeline, the bad thing with the pipeline is it sounds like everything that goes in comes out. And that would be great. Like that's our ambition. We get 100% come out, but it's leaky, right? So there will always be deals that you will not win. I never use the word lose, because I think we don't lose clients. They just decided to do something else now. They didn't buy from you, but that doesn't mean that they will never buy from you. They might buy from you in a year from now or 2 years from now. So don't think of it as lost, because then your head is like, okay, I lost them, and it will be painful to pick that up again. Instead, you say, I'll just archive them. I will pick it up in a year time or 6 months or whenever it's timely. So yeah, I agree. A lot of these frameworks are kind of outdated, and they're hindering. They're limiting us.
Yes.
Another thing with the funnel that I dislike, it's almost like gravity will pull them through. And if that was the case, you don't need salespeople, right?
True.
And in some businesses you don't need salespeople. True. And then that's also, I mean, that's can be a good business. But if you're in a complex B2B sales environment, you will need salespeople that will need to engage with people at your buyers and provide value and help them see what they need to see.
Great. George, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and I really enjoyed chatting with you. I think we should do it depending upon your time.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was very interesting, very fun. We were all over the place, but hopefully that included some valuable stuff there for the listeners.
Sometimes it's solution, and sometimes it is helping you open up your mind and thinking of a far wider, use the word holistic, think of it in a holistic fashion, and not just think of, okay, the SDR is bad, so fire him. Or the board saying, okay, the sales guy is bad, fire him. And that will solve the problem, as if. It's only another 18 months of journey for them, and then fire that guy.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
cool. Thank you very much. I really appreciate, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Today, we bring you Bob Apollo, a fellow of the Association of Professional Sales, a founding contributor to the International Journal of Sales Transformation, an active member of the Sales Experts Channel and the Sales Enablement Society, and the driving force behind Inflection Point Strategy Partners, the leading proponents of outcome-centric selling.
It's why using BANT, budget, authority, need, and time frame, is such an inappropriate way of qualifying early stage opportunities. Because if you wait until a customer has formal budget, has full authority, has a clearly defined need, has a defined timetable, they are already a long way down their decision-making process. So it might seem to extend the sales cycle, but you're not really extending the buying cycle by getting involved early. You're finding yourself at a point in the customer's buying cycle where you can actually do something to influence their thinking.
We are very excited about the upcoming launch of our new community built to bridge the gap between buyers and sellers, Moxo. It is designed for buyers, sellers, and marketers to enable access to curated content, share ideas, and engage in conversations as a community. The space will be invite only, and if you want in, please write to us at moxo@pitch.link. That is MOXO@pitch.link. Time to wrap up for today. You will soon have access to the complete interviews in the Fixing the 5% Conversion Problem in B2B Sales and transcripts in the series. Keep an eye out for the link in the EXO newsletter. And thank you for watching. Until next time, stay well and craft extraordinary outcomes.